Welcome to Critical Café,
Join us as we chat about the latest episode,
the campaign as a whole, and Critical Role in general.
all while we partake in a delicious cup of coffee. So grab yourself a tasty beverage
Settle into your favorite cozy spot.
and get ready for a little geek philosophy. Welcome to Critical Cafe Live. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is Crystal. She was waving for those of you that are
Hello.
just narrating the shenanigans on screen. So welcome back, and we have another great episode from Critical Role. Really interesting one this time with some not so easily predicted turns, twists and turns.
It was great.
It was. So we will get into all of that. Bear with me while I just do a little bit of housekeeping. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are joining us and it's the recorded version, then you can catch up in the chat if you have anything that you want to contribute. But those of you that are joining us live tonight, make sure that you come into the chat and give us your opinions as we get a chance to do a break and talk about each one of these segments. For those of you that want to support the channel, you can always just subscribe and like and do all that kind of stuff. But also want to give a shout out to a project that we've got going on right now. We have our Guardians of Getica campaign setting development, which is in the middle of development and playtesting and all kinds of stuff. So I've been doing a solo live stream talking about that, but Crystal joins in the chat and contributes, and so does our youngest Ethan, who is actually at his first day of middle school today, which, man, he's getting older.
I know.
So he's a full-fledged guardian himself now, and so we're trying to get that project going. We've got a lot of contributions from the community. If you are interested in learning out more, I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. It's a campaign setting specifically designed for family and kids, and obviously, since we run Critical Cafe, we are not just all about the family kid stuff. We do all things D&D content and for teen adults and everybody else, but we figure that kids and families should have their own fair share of stuff too. So we're trying to get that working. So join me if you can. If you can't, the video recordings are there so you can at least figure out how that's going, and you can join the playtest and get all the playtest materials for free and see how things are working. So shameless plug to keep that project going. So, anything else that you want to plug while we're getting started?
Sorry, the cat is acting crazy. Romeo. No, I'm keeping on working on the stickers, the D&D stickers for each different class. I recently completed the hunter class, so or Ranger. I've been playing too much WoW, guys.
I mean, if you want to use it for hunter stickers, you can do that. Totally.
No, I have. I've been back playing WoW again, so it gets a little confusing mixing them up. But anyways, I just completed that one. That was my last one. So now we've got 5, I think, done. A few more to go, but we're getting on. We're getting along.
Well, what's really interesting is not only playing WoW, but she's also been back and forth trying out Baldur's Gate 3, which is an amazing game, but different from WoW. So she's been
very different.
You've been playing WoW for years, right? I've been trying to get her to either stream or record, so we'll see if we can, let you guys experience Crystal as she's playing WoW like I do. So
I've been playing WoW since the vanilla days, since it was first came out before the first expansion. So
there you go. So maybe we'll see. All right, let's jump in. We're going to head over to Critical Recap. If you guys remember, we always go with Danny Carr. She does a great recap of the episode or the last episode, and so we use this as kind of a guide to make sure that we're got all our talking points and we're not off base with what our memories are like these days. So actually, Crystal's got an amazing memory. It's me that forgets stuff. So let's start with the beginning here. So, Rock Me, oh, Predathos. Nice little callback to Rock Me Amadeus. So, Bell's Hells take a short rest after their last battle. If you remember, they had a battle in sort of this murky area with some undead stuff, and there were raised people and some demonic energy. It was crazy. So they take a short rest, and then they discuss the gods and their direction again. And um, Imogen feels that ending Prodathos may actually get rid of her powers, or even get rid of her period. So, um, that's a concern, but she believes that they have to honor the people who depend on the gods. And everyone except FCG is undecided about how they feel about the gods. Um, and Ashton just says, I'm abstaining from the vote. So they also discuss the Hishari with an H and Ashton's memories of an explosion that kind of sent them away to Marquette with that explosion. So it's tied to his backstory, and we're getting glimpses of what he's remembering, but also learning a little bit more as we go. They don't have any real proof that Prodathos is bad, but they know Ludinus is. So, that's their real main villain right now is Ludinus. So FCG thinks that the gods help people, and if the gods die, what happens to everybody else? What happens to the Rudisborn if Predathos dies? They just need to get as much information as they can. So they finish their rest and they begin traversing the Gray Valley, aptly named and they see the ghosts of dead soldiers wandering the battlefield. Um, and then there's this scent of burning meat that they start to pick up as they see a hill cloven into two cliffs. And it seems like there's been sort of a structure that's placed between these two cliffs, and they stealthily move towards the structure and they're attacked by two Vroks. Laudna and Imogen basically are able to take them down, but then the group sprints to the structure and they realize that the small fort has been damaged, and there's smoke emanating from the fort base, and they can smell again burning meat, and it becomes a little bit more potent. So that's how this thing kicks off. So let's start
Yeah.
there. Man,
I know. So much going on. Well, we're still on the quest to get the perennium flowers. Hernum whatever they
I love
are,
how they make
those
a joke every time
beautiful
they say
blue
it.
flowers that are supposed to aid in healing Keyleth. They're still on the mission, and along the way, we're right dead in the middle of trying to rescue the other group that came before them. Some of them have been killed. We've saw in the last episode, but one of the people that or one of the group is Orum's sister, and so they're missing, so they're trying to find them, as well as to get like enough of these flowers to take back to heal Keyleth up. So it's a really interesting conversation they have about the gods, though. And then you find out, they like FCG he literally says, how many of us, let's take a vote, and he's the only one that is a firm yes in the God column. Everybody else is like, no. Meh. And then Ashton just straight up is like, I'm not saying. I'm not decided. So it's a I think it's an interesting angle for FCG. He's the only one
Yeah.
that is directly tied to a god. And it really is with the group. It all comes down to Ludinus, not even as much to Predathos. It's just Ludinus. He's the bad guy. He's the guy they want
Yeah.
to kill. That Predathos guy, maybe he'll kill the gods, maybe he won't, but we're killing Ludinus. So
You're right, and also like it's interesting because it's a fantasy setting. I mean, it's D&D. We know the gods exist. We know that they're real in this world. It's not like they're just
yes,
non-believers, and
yeah,
it's whether or not they are behind them, that they think they have value, that they're doing the right thing, and they're talking about like at the time, everybody's talking about the gods of the pantheon that are generally the good gods, right? Like they're not even talking about
Right.
any betrayer gods or anything right now. They're just talking about just good gods in general, and or
Yes.
supposedly of good aligned. So yeah, it's just interesting, and again, I think that it's after them being apart and being on two different paths that saw different interactions with how that was coming together. It's really interesting to see how it's playing out, as far as
Yeah,
the
it
group
definitely
dynamics.
is. It is. And then to see the choices that they're making, it almost seems like the group has kind of decided their overarching goal is Ludinous, but we're literally going to take it one day at a time, doing what's right in front of our face until we can get back to that space, because it's such a huge,
Yeah,
like, massive world ending possibly thing going on with this apogee solstice and what Ludinus is trying to do, that they seem so small in comparison to this huge thing that's happening, unless they somehow really do get some really big hitters on their side.
yeah. I mean,
So
who knows who's going to be able to kind of back them up? I mean, think about it. They're on a mission right now with one of the heaviest hitters that they probably know with Keyleth,
yeah,
and they're on a mission to save her,
right,
basically.
because she got ripped a new one, like,
Yeah, yeah. So
instantly
it's
almost.
who else could they go to? Yeah, it's really really interesting to see how this plays
Right.
out. All right, we'll keep it moving. So back to critical recap. I love how Ashley is front and center in this picture. We'll find out a little bit later. Um, Incursion. Okay, so this is the Iridon Bastion, an extension of the Platinum Dragon Temple, and it's meant to stand sentinel over the abyssal presence in the Grey Valley and warn of the incursion. So Chetney uses um, Grim Psychometry, which is one of his Hemocraft abilities, and he sees the structure and its soldiers attacked a few days ago, apparently. So, um, the Platinum Dragon's presence wasn't able to help them because we're seeing the diminished effects of all the gods right now. So, Imogen questions how many of these places exist where the gods block fiends from entering into the world, because this is kind of what's going on. And so, this fort isn't unique, and there's probably a bunch of different rifts throughout Exandria. So this is one effect that's in the side of the God column, right? Saying, hey, they're protecting us against these incursions. So Bell's Hell's split up with Laudna, Imogen, and Ashton and Orem going to the top of the fort, and they see the aftermath of the battle and the demons who have turned the bastion into an encampment. So there are three metal cages filled with captives there, and the demons are drawing runes and sigils and preparing for something. They don't know what it is yet, but there is a enormous, gigungous demon that's there. It's got small wings and massive tusks, and it lands in the yeah in the encampment. And this is Extavas the Gluttonous, and he wields a beautiful blade that's way too small for him. So FCG casts tongues as Extavas says, "Hurry! I must feast soon. Prepare, then celebrate." And then Fern notices a demon pulled into an alcove, and she sees a devil with red skin, a lion's mane of gray hair, handlebar horns, leathery wings emerging from his velvet cloak. And this is Tevin Clask, who ends up, we finding, a champion of the Lord of Hells. And he stays hidden, and he's keeping an eye on everything in the encampment. Really interesting. Should we keep going, or do you want to pause there?
Yeah, let's just keep going.
Yeah. So Fern causes a distraction by shouting, and then because she's like, "Help!" And then Chetney in wolf form pretends to attack her, and then Extavus sends two demons to bring back whatever made the noise. Imogen attacks the tower with synaptic static, and it kills one of the demons that stands guard over another cage. The Team Top is what it's called. So Team Top leaps to the tower while Team Bottom deals with the demons. heading their way. FCG casts Command, and it was just funny to me. He commands them to mime long enough for Fern to, and him to both run to the alcove. So Fern meets Tevin and convinces him that she's a friend, creating a temporary alliance with him. Chetney finishes off the demons, it also impresses Tevin. And then at the top of the tower, there's a cage that holds a wounded Iridian Bastion soldier and a Tempest Blade. And Laudna picks the lock, frees the captives, and then I guess making them brittle.
She
Freezes
cast
the
Ray of
captives.
Frost. Yeah.
The manacles. Yeah, that's right. She
Mhm.
freezes the manacles. It makes them brittle enough to break. I read that wrong. Extravus welcomes them all to the feast before teleporting to the tower, where he brutally attacks Imogen. Orem disarms the demon, knocking his blade to the ground, and then Laudna asks Imogen if she trusts her, and then Laudna pushes her off the edge of the tower, leaps after her, and casts Featherfall, so they land safely, which is it's one of my favorite spells ever. Unfortunately, Extravus follows and knocks Imogen unconscious. Laudna, in her form of Dread, shields Imogen with her own body. So, yeah, lots going on there.
Yeah. So our trusty team splits up. Some go to the top and some go to the bottom. And then Fern gets this bright idea, causing like a distraction by, pretending like she's getting attacked by Chetney. She's over there going, help me, help. And Chetney's like, rah, rah. So it ends up at least distracting and pulling away. It splits the side, the bad side, in half. Like some of them come over to investigate and to pull them over to Estavos, this like really nasty big thing with these tiny little puny wings, which I wish we had a visual for him, because I'm sure it would be hilarious with tiny little on his back. That's all I can think of. Or like the dragon in the D&D movie where he was so fat, but he had these little wings. That's what it reminds me of. But funny enough, yeah, the team scrambles. The one dude Extavos ends up knocking Imogen out, and Laudna is trying to protect her, and it's just crazy because they're trying again. I think just seeing the figures that are in the cages, these are our missing people. Like this is what it feels like. These are our missing group that we're looking for, or at least a few of them, and then a few of the soldiers that were there that hadn't been killed, because I think this thing wants to eat them. He's the gluttonous,
yeah.
and he's hungry, and he wants to be fed, and it's just disgusting. And of course, Matt Mercer is amazing at these voices and all this. I don't know. He's great. The whole miming scene
it's great.
was so hilarious. Cool. So it was a good, it seemed like it was a really long battle with the stuff that was happening, but there was some really funny stuff that happened in between some of the more serious scenes. So,
Well, and shout out to Sam Riegel for coming up with one of my favorite uses of the command spell with mime, and shout out to Matt Mercer for actually being able to pull off the wall and the rope thing perfectly. So I don't know if they all went to mime school training during acting classes or something, but it was pretty amazing. So yeah, it was fun.
It was.
Yeah, I feel as if, well, we'll see. I don't want to say anything yet because I have a feeling about something that happened that it was not Ashley related. So let's see. All right, these Demon Slayer. So FCG is then able to bring Imogen back. Does a cure wounds for first level, which was funny, but it worked and got hit points back. So she casts invisibility on herself and Laudna to protect them both from Extavos. And then Chetney grabs this dropped blade and hears a voice in his head. Oh, Travis, always lucking out with this. Telling him that they will do great things.
Oh, no.
Fern casts Blight on Extavus, killing him even as he tries to threaten and find her and kill her. And she takes his tusks, which, that's what you do. Ashton destroys all of the fiendish sigils, which I thought was really smart. Went around and started to wiping those out and destroying the sigils, while Chetney and Laudna start unlocking the cages. The captives are two Iron Bastion soldiers, two Tempest Blades, and Barony, Orm's sister. So Barony is found,
Yay.
and that was great that we were able to, because we were a little worried last episode whether or not she was going to be all right, and she was. They reunite, and Barony's surprised that he was the one that came to save them. Between Belzhel's and the Ashari, they have more than enough flowers to return to Zephyra. So this is pretty good. So let's do you want to pause there or keep going?
We can keep going.
All right. All right. So Devilish Temptation. This was interesting, and then we definitely need to talk. So meanwhile, Tevin speaks with Fern. He explains that he is the champion of Asmodeus, acting as his agent through many realms, and is known as the Retribution of the Hells. Who does she owe fealty? Herself. She basically says, me. She's outside of the knotted weave, and while he doesn't know the detail, his lord is shaken by what is brewing in Exandria. So he was commanded to entreat those that want to walk both in the light and outside of it, and for now they meet on common ground. So finding some common ground indeed, and then he's looking to help his own god, which may in turn help all the gods. We'll see. The deities have remembered for this moment in time they are brethren. That's what he says. He tells Fern not to feel nervous as the armistice is precedent, and flirts with Fern, speaking of the gifts that she could receive if she followed Asmodeus. The Lord of Hells offers an eternity of purpose and strength and pleasure for his followers. And that's the word that really got Fern. I think she's determined to find that excitement and pleasure in a lot of ways. So he kisses her hand, and then it burns the symbol of the Lord of Hells into her knuckle. And he tells her the pact is sealed, and so all she has to do is ask for his aid in the future. And he promises her that they will meet again, and informs her that the others, that their leader is wise. All right, group, you have a wise leader. Tells Imogen that their destinies might be entwined, and then disappears in flames. So, yeah, lots going on there.
Yeah. So, yay, we rescued Bernie. I was
Yeah.
really, really, really hoping that Orm's sister wasn't also going to die because he's had so much tragedy. So, I was so glad that she was alive. She had a minor injury, but was able to heal herself once she was feeling better, and had two, I think, satchels full of the flowers. So, we don't have to go looking for more. We've got enough now. So, they get them all out, and then Tevin comes over and starts flirting with Fern. He refuses to even look at anybody else, even though multiple people try to talk to him. He is solely focused on her, and has decided he wants to make a pact with her. He wants to be, she can call on him whenever she needs him, and Fern is just like, heck yeah, baby. So, oh my goodness, the whole time I was just like, oh, he's the champion for Asmodeus. Oh.
Yeah,
And
and
again,
it's
what, going back to like EXU, he's
yep.
what? He's a liar. That's his whole thing is deceiver. He's the deceiver. So good
Well,
luck.
and yeah, I mean you can't, and that's the thing, right? Like as soon as you realize who he's the champion of, you're like, okay, well now I can't believe anything that he says. Like
Nope.
I've got to take everything with a grain of salt.
It's
So I
very
don't know. It's just
charming.
yes,
For Fern.
it's. I agree. Now,
She ate it up with a spoon.
I don't have. I wanted to go back to when Chetney went to get the sword for a second. Now, this is so spoiler alert. Obviously, we're spoiling what happened last time because this is the show about what happened last time. But potential spoiler alert for what comes forward because um, they haven't said this in the show that I know of, but I happen to have the Tal'Dorei Reborn source book, and anytime someone has a intelligent weapon, and especially when Travis picks one up, they tend to be big deals. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of it. One of you can tell me in the comments for the video or in the chat when you come in. But I think this is the one that was listed in that book. So I'm pretty sure he's got this intelligent weapon because the way it was described was like a beautiful cruciform hilt, right? And I think Matt said that it had rubies encrusted in it, if I remember right. And that's the same description. And also, um, it has an area in which it can contact people or sense people. And what I'm wondering is if the area that it was sensing people was what Matt was checking for, because he was making a lot of
Mm.
rolls and like they were hearing things in their head, and the voice that Chetney heard was not the same voice that they all heard in their head. So I'm wondering if Matt was checking to see who was picking up this or who the sword was picking up. But because it was together with the demon, we
Yeah.
all thought it was the demon that
Right.
he was
Right.
checking for. He could have been checking for both. I don't know. It's just by the way, it's just a theory. But I just wanted to give you potential spoilers because I don't remember the name of the thing. But I'm doing campaign or setting development right now, so I look through stuff
Yeah.
all the time, and I just happen to remember a very similar thing. So I don't know
Travis and his
how.
intelligent swords.
I don't know how he
They're
does it.
always
Like,
all cursed. They're
yeah, like
cursed.
he had the axe. I think he had the sword, the axe. Like he had so many in campaign 1, and then he's got the
Yeah.
one from campaign 2. Um, was it Star? Which was a good one, I
Razor.
think. Star Razor, right? So yeah, he's had yeah. It's fun though. It's
Every
one of my
single.
favorite one of my favorite things as a DM is to put an intelligent weapon in that has an attitude or a personality that then it's almost like having this other character that is being carried around by the player. It's amazing. It's so fun. So
It's almost a little bit like Prism's book.
no, exactly like that,
Her
right?
her
Yeah,
her
exactly.
wizard book.
100%. And it's fun, right? Like it makes it for an interesting.
Except for
You have
whenever
to
they make you kill
trust.
your besties.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, or when it wants more blood, as in
When it hungers.
season. Yeah, yeah.
Who was
All
saying
right.
it was hungry, the sword or the demon?
This is a good question, and I guess we'll never know until we find out later. All right. All right. Last rites. Okay. So Orem talks to Bernie, who explains that she volunteered to helm this expedition to find the flowers, which makes sense. And they knew of the dangers of the Grey Valley, but knew that the Iridon Bastion would be a point of safety, which it is not a point of safety right now because it had fallen. Um, some of them fled, some of them fell, some of them were captured. They also know that some of them were, we know that the others that fell or were raised in the previous show. So we know that
Yeah.
was what happened to them. So the ones that were alive, were saved for a celebratory feast with the demons. So yeah, and basically Extravus the Gluttonous was sworn to a prince known as Vrudaloon. Vrudulian?
Fruit of a loom.
Vrudalaluminanen. That's enough of
Rudaluin.
that.
I don't know.
Ruduwa.
Whatever. V.
V. We already had a V though, so we can't keep calling it.
Oh.
Um,
Vidal.
yeah.
Sassoon.
Yes. Extravus the Gluttonous was sworn to a prince known as Vidal Sassoon. So they should not rest here. Barony, because Vidal Sassoon is there, so you can't rest in that area.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. You might have really good hair when you leave, though,
that's
for your feast.
100%. Yeah. Well, I won't, but the rest of you will. Barony can't get them back, but Imogen can teleport them in the morning. So they have a funeral for the fallen and the soldiers. They give death rights to the platinum dragon, which is nice for that area, which speak of loss and giving one's life to protect the realm and true heroism for those that didn't balk in the face of destruction. So a little thing to kind of bolster resolve for the god that protected that realm in the past. They fell so that the others could live. So Bernie leads them down the crevasse and opens a cavern in the stone wall where they can safely rest for the night. And that's that. Let's check out Danny's final thoughts. Fern is out here making deals with devils for the purposes of getting supremely laid, and I, for one, think she is iconic. And
I love her.
Travis Willingham is 3 for 3 on talking swords and Critical Role campaigns. Must be destiny. The Prime and the Betrayer gods seem to be in a truce due to Prodathos. That is a big deal. If it is a big deal.
If he's not lying.
Yeah, we don't know. It may just be trying to get that one up. Barney lives. The flowers are found. Thank the gods, because Orem cannot lose another family member, like we said before. So
yeah.
That's exactly right. Like, I think all of the things that we pointed out are what she pointed out at the end, and it's really interesting to me that it's taken some time to even feel like this group is back together. This is the first time I think that we've had a significant, the second game where we've had significant amount of combat. It's really bringing them back together, even though we know they're not on the same page about some things. They're at least on the same page with where lewdness is concerned and what they need to do. And I think seeing the effects of what lewdness did to Keyleth and at last game, and then seeing like what's happening with these fissures coming in with like instability with the other gods and everything else, I think that is going to go a long way in helping some of them at least understand that the gods might need to be protected. So
right.
I don't know. It's interesting. What do you think?
Well, and in an inadvertent way, lewdness was almost responsible for Orem's sister possibly being killed too.
Yeah.
You know, like what he's doing is not good at all.
No.
And it's nice to see, because, you know, in 2 or 3 episodes ago, we saw what people were doing in the name of a god that was bad. And now we're getting to see what people are doing in the name of a god that is good. And so it's kind of helping balance out. So it's not everything that we see in reference to any of the gods is horrible. There is some good. And this is one of the big things that is good, especially if there's a ton of these fortresses or, you know, waypoints kind of placed throughout Exandria to keep and repel back the entities coming through the fissures. So if those start being unmanned, and you know, devils and demons or whoever fiends start coming through, it's really gonna be bad, because you know, if a lord of the hell is sending a guy to come and stop what's happening with this other demon, because there's this truce with the gods. So this demon's probably gone behind their back with what he's doing, because there's supposedly supposed to be a truce right now, right? But he's taking advantage of it. He's out here like trying to perform rituals and feed and do all this, and he, you know, so I feel like he kind of went behind the back and was trying to get Like, I mean, he's a demon or a devil or whatever, a demon, yeah. So he's trying to do whatever he wants to do, which includes killing and eating people. But my thing,
Well,
sorry,
yeah.
go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
My biggest concern though with Tevin especially, or Tavon especially, is he told Fern that that mark that he gave her was so that if she ever needed to call on him, he could come and help. But what keeps that from being a tracker? What keeps that from being a way that he can spy on them? What keeps that from being any, like, just a tether to the group to keep any of their like, to find any of their information, or to, ambush them at some point? I mean, he's the champion of a betrayer
Yeah.
god. So
Yeah, I mean it's as a for those of you that may not be as familiar with the rules behind the game, or at least with 5e stuff, like the biggest difference between devils and demons, because there's a lot of similarities more than anything else, but the biggest difference is that um, one is lawful evil and the other is chaotic evil, and so demons tend to be chaotic and devils tend to be lawful. But that doesn't mean like a law abiding, like the laws of man or anything like that. It just means that they have lawful, meaning like they have a code, they have a structured rule set like of themselves, where they like just a methodical and not, the opposite of chaotic, really, like where
right, right.
they're planners, that kind of thing. So absolutely it could have been, if he's the champion of Asmodeus, it could be that, oh yeah, well, the plan is to, that's what, like the whole seduction and the lies, like if you think about it, like lying is almost more tied to lawfulness than it is chaos, right? Like chaos is, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want, whatever happens. There's not really a plan for it in a lot of cases, whereas a lawful person can, especially lawful evil, could be a big liar because they
Oh
are
yeah, plotting and
planning things
planning and
out.
scheming.
That's right. So I think you hit something right on the head, where it's like now she has this tracker on her, this mark that she can be followed, maybe even scried upon easier, like where they can just, like all the times where they were trying to scry on other people. Imagine if you had, the mark that you left on that person.
Yeah,
Um,
slip into her
yeah,
dreams,
yeah.
like there's so
And
many
she kind of
things.
wanted it too. She kind of
Oh,
wanted to
she was
do it. So,
she didn't want him to mark her. She said afterwards, like, I didn't necessarily want it, but she didn't fight hard. She
yeah.
really was like, go. And Laura was sitting beside her going, do it, do it, do
Oh,
it.
of course she was. Yeah. It's the
So
perfect of all of the characters that Ashley's ever had. This is the one, right? Um, and even like I think someone made the comment. It's like, Fern is playing this character that also has horns and cloven hooves, and like, kind of it's a fawn, but like you could kind of
yeah,
like see how this plays out with the whole like devil type of connection. But anyway, like I think it was fun as a role playing choice. I think it's also fun in the context of the storyline,
yeah,
because if we truly like, if think about it, like when Fern was reaching out and trying to, I think it was the wild mother maybe,
yes.
and she couldn't get
She was
like,
like, hey, bitch.
yeah, like maybe it is maybe it is Asmodeus that is like, well, all right, you want me to have a god, I'll just have this one, like, yeah, I don't think FCG would care which one she
No,
took, like,
because
and
he
that's what's
doesn't
really
know
funny.
anything about them.
No, he has no clue. It's like, it's really
It's
funny to
just,
me.
yay, another one on the side of the gods. He's like, we're
Yep,
at two and an
yep.
undecided, So I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
it's yeah,
chaos gremlins.
it's fun. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's what they're doing, right? They're having fun, they're telling a good story. So
Well, and
yeah,
at the beginning of this campaign, Matt said that the gloves were coming off. So I feel
yeah.
like some of the players are just, they're just reckless. They're just going for it. I feel like, let's just have fun with it. If the world's gonna end, let's just have fun along the way, type thing.
I think so. Yeah,
So
Well, and it's
Fern is
also
my
it's what
favorite right now.
I'm I'm interested in how it's going to play out. I'm also interested. We talked about this a little bit of time when Buff and herself, when Luna was on, that they're releasing their new long form role playing game. They've got Candela Obscura, which is the Luminous World system, but they also have this new system, Daggerheart.
Right.
And I know when we were talking to Luna, we both, I think all three of us kind of thought, they may switch over to that when they move forward
Mm-hmm.
with another campaign. So who knows? I mean, I know that just this past week, they just finished up Gen Con. I know they were there. They did some panels. I know there was some playtesting of Daggerheart, and a lot of other people you guys can check have been posting stuff about being able to play, and even like pictures of their character sheets that they're playing with and stuff. And it's a different system. It's not a D20 system, which is way different than I thought. It's a 2D12 system,
Ooh.
which is fun because you don't get to roll many of those in D&D. Just like I think what Great Sword and Great Axe, a couple other things you get to use a D12 for. But I think one is based on one aspect of the story and the other is based on the other, and then you compare the two numbers to see how it plays out. I don't know, obviously, and it's really early days. They may change a lot of this as it plays out, um, but the fact that they're moving into a very story centric role playing game that's long form, but also from reports, what I'm hearing is it's also got some crunch to it. It's not like just all fluff and story. Like there's some crunch to it where you have to really kind of think things through and build characters. So, to your point about them kind of saying, "Oh, let's just try whatever," this could be their way of like maybe stepping in that direction where they move that way. I don't know if they're going to make their main campaign always, D&D. Maybe it'll switch over to this new Daggerheart and go
Yeah.
that way. And
I would
it'll
imagine
be
they're going to
interesting.
at least start slipping it in, like they're going to start having separate games with it. If like maybe one shots, if they can't, they're not going to, I would imagine as a whole, they're not going to just say, okay, next week we've done away with this format and now we're going to do this format. No, they're going to ease us into it, I'm sure, just from a business standpoint. But overall, it's what?
What, I'm having this Laura Bailey moment over
All right,
here, slipping it
Laura.
in.
Slip it in. But you know what I'm saying. They're not just gonna like,
I know what you're
wake up
saying.
tomorrow and go, you know what I'm saying.
I know what
Um,
you're saying.
but I do think they've spent all this time developing all this new stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if the new campaign after this one will be the new mechanics. I'm
Maybe
excited
so.
to
I mean,
see.
I guess it depends on how long this one goes, right? Like I still think I don't remember how long they said that. Maybe it was another 6 months, maybe it was a year of playtesting. So I guess it depends on how long this campaign
Right.
lasts.
Yeah.
So but if that's the case, then it'd be really interesting. And hopefully they don't. I don't know. Hopefully they don't lose too many people because it's not D&D. But I think they have a big enough audience for who they are.
Yeah. I mean,
They're, yeah.
I feel like people who watch them are Critical Role fans.
Yeah, but they've also said everybody. If I can find it, I'll link to it. I'm sure I can find it. Watch Luna's one of her latest videos where she kind of went into um, whether or not they're going to hang it up at any point. Like I don't think anytime soon, but like Matt has said, I need to find someone eventually that I can pass this over to, pass the torch down to other people, younger people, more diverse group of people, and all that stuff. And they've done a great job of adding more people into the mix. But I do think that there's just something to you kind of fall in love with a cast of people, and it just feels weird whenever they're not all around. And it doesn't mean that you can't find another group to kind of take it over, but it's a different challenge, and I just I don't want that to happen anytime soon. I want them to keep going
Yeah,
for
me
as long
either.
as they feel like they can.
I'm
But also,
selfish.
like, too much change all at once may not be great either, right? Like, so
Right.
changing system and changing main cast and all that kind of stuff may not be the right move. So but I do think that it's
I think
inevitable.
it's
So
good that they continue to have guests because you never really know who they end up switching, guests in and out. And if they've already been in with the main group, they're not as unfamiliar to us. So at
yep.
least, if they bring back some of our fan favorite guests, they'll be watched because of that too. So instead of just people
And
we don't even have a clue who they are.
no, that's great. It's a great point. And like what they've been doing with Candela Obscura is a great
Mm-hmm.
example of that, right? They bring people in that we recognized before, but then some new people too. And um, because it's a different thing, like I think they can get away with more change. It's a highly produced show, so yeah, I think it's fun. They're not. We're fortunate right now that they're not under the same purview as the actors strike, so we can keep seeing him. I know that some other groups like Dimension 20 are, because of the way that that they're cast. And I hope everybody, I hope that comes to a positive conclusion and everybody gets paid what they deserve and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
um, but there's so much more to shows that are produced like this, that have casts that come in and out and people that are hired to come in and play and things like that, than what most people really understand, because we're just playing at our house or maybe through the internet and broadcasting on YouTube or whatever. But they're doing it at a different level, so there's so many more considerations. They're running a publishing company, they're doing all kinds of things. So yeah, it's fun to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of that, to see how it plays out. But at the end of the day, I just hope whatever form it takes, that the game goes on a little bit longer with this cast, just to kind of
Me
see what they do.
too.
So speaking of which, we got about 15 minutes before they start. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Anything you want to say before we close it out?
No, just thanks for being with us, guys.
I agree
And
with
it
that.
is
And
Thursday.
it is Thursday. It is yet. so, so have fun, and we will catch you next time.